Besides this is obviously going to be good. If you want to know what really happened, you need to watch this. This is the only place you're going to get this type of interview or
I don't really know what this is, but I didn't do it. I'm innocent, Judge. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent.
We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant, Matthew L. Moore, not guilty of murder, as he stands charged in count 1 of the indictment.
Hello, beautiful people. How are we? Hope you're all well out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those from Australia as well that I know will be watching. So it's afternoon for me. It's lovely, lovely. I don't normally start streaming till like 5 o'clock my time because of the Krieger trial. So now doing this at 2 o'clock today. Perfection. Seen some of your comments. I was laughing at your comments. What the hell are you doing? I was supposed to go food shopping, but I totally postponed it to be here for this. I appreciate the coverage, Alan. I appreciate you, Christy, for being here. This deserves my full attention. Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. So lots of love to you there, Christy. Thank you very much. Right, my boss is here. One of my bosses, Sarah P. Sarah P is here, and she says, "Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Please hit the like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on the way in. You can join the community. That's the merch store. And obviously, the best way to support the channel is through PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee. And you can see the Buy Me a Coffee link at the top as well. Good morning to Sarah. There's a few of you here. Happy days. Trying to clear the brain fog. It's morning for you, isn't it, Chrissy? It's morning. This is my second boss, another boss, Josie. Good morning, my darling. How are you? Blessed morning. Hello, Kendall. Lovely to see you, Kendall. I hope you're well. Chrissy, everyone's here. Lovely here now, Kendall. Hi, people. Hey, Scott. How you doing, fella? Hope you're well as well, mate. Nice to see you as always, Scott. I know you very kindly come into a few of my streams now, so appreciate that, buddy. Spacey, I just love this name. Spacey Stacy. What the hell? You're out there, but I love that name. Hi, Stace. How are you, my darling? Hey, Patty. Lovely to see you, Patty. Hey, Scott, Spacey, Stacey, Patty. I'm afraid to comment on this case because I've seen the movie. Don't be afraid. I want to outline. So before I bring my special guest on, she's awaiting. Don't worry, she's awaiting. Just explain to those of you. So we got different levels of people here, right? Some people that know this case pretty well, like Scott knows everything. He's formed his opinion. Obviously, myself, several others of you out there that know nothing about this case. So we're just doing some live research as we go along. Last week we did a stream. Is ad hoc, gives you an insight into some of my brain, how it works. And obviously today we got Mizzy coming. So big shout out whoop whoop for her because she's going to lift the ceiling. She's going to give us an insight into everything. We're dancing. So yeah, we've got to today get to know about Sandra, which I think is absolutely important here. So there's a lot to learn here. So don't worry if you don't know everything about this case. That's why we're doing this series. So every week we learn something new about her and what happened and stuff like that. So we've done one. We've now got a professional Mizzy coming in today. And any questions you got, put it in chat. I'll star it, and we can ask you as we go along or wherever. So don't think I ignore your questions. I will, as I say, press it and stuff like that. So we'll ask later on. Hey, Hackster, how we doing, my darling? Hope you're well as well. Mizzy's coming on. Yes, she is. She's coming on today. Hey, Den, how we doing there? How we doing, mate, my friend? So yeah, as I say, a lot of you are going to be watching replay, so shout out to you. Please remember to like and stuff like that as well. I do appreciate we had loads of people in replay crew last week, a ton of people actually. So shout out to all of you. Please share this afterwards to everybody. I appreciate this is early for a lot of people, but I think this is important. So I'm not going to delay it. Why would I delay it? You know, you're not here to see me. You're here to see this guest. You know, so I want to introduce you to a very wonderful woman who contacted me out of the blue a few weeks ago. Probably, I was like, "Hey, anything you want to know about Sandra? Anything you want to do about Sandra? Let me know. I'm here for you. Anything you want, absolutely anything you want." I was like, "Cool." My way of doing things is to just try and research myself and then reach out to people. So I did my own research, which hopefully will come across in the next few weeks. But I also wanted to speak to somebody that knew Sandra, and Dana as well put us in touch. I was confused for a while who's Mizzy, and they were under a certain name. I didn't know who anybody was. I'm lost, but then we eventually got the correct person. We got Mizzy here. She's been fantastic. She reached out. Before I get her on, Patty, thank you very much. A little appreciation for all you do. Patty sent me 3 coffees. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate you, Patty. Thank you. Hello, Melissa, as well. Hi, Justice Warriors. Justice Warriors. Hi, I'm Melissa. Grow Chrissy with you. Right, so with that, let's bring her on. I'm babbling now. So here she is. Hey.
Hey. How's it going?
Good. Right, just be clear. We've never spoken before, have we?
Nope.
We've never spoken. I think we just had said hello just now in the background and stuff like that. So
yeah, I was having trouble getting the links and stuff, so we didn't get to chat before I came on.
It's good, but I like that because people sometimes go, "Oh, you pre-planned. You don't." There's no plan here.
Yeah, not
all I said to you is I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to ask you. I don't actually know everything I'm going to ask you. I will probably ask you some stuff that you might not know. I don't know. I'm not here to trip you up. I'm not here to do anything of that sort. I'm here to learn. And I think everyone in chat is here to learn as well. So I really do appreciate coming in, and I do thank you for reaching out as well. When you did, when I said I was going to research it, you were one of the first people to reach out, and that's thank you for that. I did appreciate that.
Can I correct something first? I do not know Sandra personally. I've gotten to know her over doing this case over a year. So, but I've talked to family members and friends, but I just want to make sure people know that I did not know Sandra.
That's one was going to be one of my first questions to you about that. So you covered it before. It's like you know my notes. So it's like she knows everything. It's like no, it's not pre-planned. We got some people in chat here for you. Welcome some Sarah P.
Thank
Melissa,
you, everybody.
The Hackster.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. I mean, thank you, Mizzy, for fighting for Sandra. Yeah, and that's important. Like, I didn't know when to have you on. So I was confused. And I said this I was confused because at one point I knew you as Mizzy, right? Because Dana told me Mizzy. I'm like, happy days. And somebody last week said that Sandra's sister was going on with Mike. And I knew you were going on with Mike. And I was like, fucking hell. Is this Mizzy, Sandra's sister? I was
no relation. No. I'm a fellow content creator. I usually interview people whose loved ones have been murdered. And I don't usually do lives. Like I'll go on with somebody for a live, but on my page, I haven't been doing lives yet. So because Sandra's case is all consuming for me. I haven't done any other interviews lately. Like I said, I normally interview families of loved ones who've been murdered to try to help them work through the case and get their case out there a little more. So I live in New England. I live about 40 minutes from Boston. So this is how I found out about Sandra's case because I saw it on the news.
Well, I mean, again, my notes. She can't see my notes, guys. I promise you, she can't see anything. She's just too fucking good. Way ahead of me, like Before I go into it, Kendall as well, thank you for sending me coffee. I appreciate you, Dylan. Appreciate you, Kendall, as well. Thank you very much. Right. So you've given us a little bit of a background there. And you said that you've got to know Sandra since you've done the research on this, but I've started going through this research, and obviously, for those that haven't followed this, obviously a case in New England in Mass, and Sandra, officially, according to the autopsy, she was put down as that she self-alleviated herself, and it was moved on from there. Obviously, a lot of things have come out since then, but I don't want to go into that just yet. I wanted to bring it back because I can read all about that stuff, on motions, on various documents and stuff like that. Great.
Yeah.
But what I can't read and what I don't know, but you know a lot better, even though you don't or you didn't know Sandra, you've spoke to the family, you spoke to friends and stuff like that. So can you tell us a little bit about who Sandra was, what's she about, and her background, and just concentrate very much about her really, and see what you can give us on that.
Yeah, it's always important to humanize the person who's died in the subject of the story. So Sandra was born in Boston, May 13th, I think, 1997. She grew up in Stoughton, Massachusetts, from a single mother. She did not know her father. She lived with her mother, grandmother, and 2 aunts. Her mother did have a lot of health issues, and unfortunately, she passed away when Sandra was young, in 2016. So she was only a teenager. And then not too long later, her grandmother passed away. So she had a lot of loss earlier in her life. And I've heard that, she was really smart, and but she was a little socially awkward at times. Her family did love her. That's one thing I do want to get out there. She did have family members who loved her. But unfortunately, with the relationship with this police officer, a lot of people stepped back in her life because they didn't understand what the situation behind the scenes was, because she kept that close to the vest. So, Sandra could be goofy, but I had a family member tell me that she was very thoughtful and, would text them or call them to make sure, they were okay. She spoke to her cousin almost every day, who lived on the other side of the country. I've had other family members tell me that Sandra had this, she was very mature in other ways, but she was really immature in a lot of other ways. So she had this dueling type of thing going on, because she kind of grew up fast with her mom, but she still had that little kid side of her, but she preferred to be around adults. I had a family member say, when we had family gatherings, she tended to be with the adults instead of the children. But Sandra, it's sad because Sandra gets lost in this hoopla of, what's going on behind the scenes and what happened to her. And sadly, she doesn't get talked about as a person enough. So,
yeah. No, that's great. And sorry, I'm just directed here because something's going on in chat. So right, sorry to disrupt you there, but
that's okay.
So just everyone in chat, don't worry. Sarah P has got a phone in her pocket. She's deleting everything. It's a pure accident. Don't worry. Ignore it. It's fine. You will be unhidden. Sarah P is causing chaos everywhere here, so it's fine. Okay. So that's good. That's good insight. I think that's important. That you said about she lost her mother. She grew up She had to grow up super fast, but she had to fend for herself. Basically, she had to do everything herself. But as you say, the level of maturity probably, she's still a kid.
Yeah, it was like she had this dueling thing where she was very mature in a lot of ways, but she was also immature in other ways. And, but she did have family who loved her and who want to fight for her. But there's a lawsuit going on, so they've been instructed not to speak to other people, especially the press. So that's kind of why there isn't a lot of people out there speaking about her case that are family.
That makes sense, because I was looking for some more stuff about her, and the only thing I could find is like that she joined this scheme with the police at 13, and literally
Yeah.
that's it. And I knew the death of her mother and stuff. So essentially, there's not that, as you say, there's not much out there about her, but she's someone that went through it. She went through a lot at a young age.
Yes.
So do you think that, in a way, her maturity, or like not maturity, but having to deal with that at such a young age, is why she maybe, I'm jumping here a bit, but maybe why she trusted older people a lot more?
Part of it, but I think a lot of it had to do with that she admired police officers so much. And who in their right mind thinks that a police officer is going to do this? Never mind 3 of them, and technically 4.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, her mom sending her at 13 to go join this police explorers group. She's not thinking that she has to worry about the police hurting her. Who in their right mind would think that, you would send your child to go be around police officers and they would hurt your child? They're the people you're supposed to be able to trust.
So a lot of people would be like, "What's she on about? What's she speaking about now?" And just in case, I know there's some questions in chat. I've started them, guys. I will ask them later on. But she obviously signed up in this program when she was 13. What was the program? What was it about? Because obviously we've just gone on about some abuse and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
we don't
So
actually know what it is about.
Yeah. So I can do a quick rundown. When Sandra was 13, she joined, it's called the Police Explorers Program. It's a program that's all throughout the country. I think it should be totally disbanded because there's been a lot of issues in police explorers and kids being abused. She was groomed at the age of 13 when she joined by 3 police officers: Robert Devine, who ran it, Matthew Farwell and William Farwell. They are twin brothers. So at a young age, she was groomed by these men. And when she was 15, Matthew Farwell began essaying her. And, that causes problems with your self-esteem, your psyche. It does affect you mentally. Sandra did have some mental issues, but it's no wonder. She did have a rough life, and these guys mounted on top of it. So then when she got a little older, the other 2 police officers began having inappropriate sexual relationships with her, and this continued till she was 23 when she died. But we can go more into depth of what happened with her. But she was groomed at the age of 13. And like I said before, who would think that it's the police who are going to hurt her? You would never send your child to go hang out with the police thinking that they're going to be the ones who abuse your child.
They're the people you trust. They're the ones that you go to.
Who do parents tell their children to go through if something happens? You find a police officer.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. So no, I mean, I read that story, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read, because I covered it last week, and I was reading the article before I came online, and honestly, I was sobbing. At the time, my niece was here. She's 13, and I was thinking, Jesus Christ, it's so scary, man. That how you got to entrust these people, and you entrust people all the time, because after school clubs and all these things. But the one place that everyone should feel safe is with law enforcement, as we just said. And to think that this kind of thing happens, it's just sickening. It's just sickening. And that's just one element of this.
Yeah. And the guy who ran the program, Robert Devine, he was a SOR officer. He was a police officer in schools. He ran an after-school program at the school. And this was junior high school aged kids, so they were Sandra's age or a little older. And then he did the Explorers Club. This man had unfettered access to children. And that's scary. That's very scary. And the Farwell brothers, when they were in high school, they were in the program. So I've spoken to a couple other students who were in the program, not with Sandra, but in the actual program before, and they were in the program with the Farwells, and they said that that Robert Devine was grooming the Farwells, but not to be victims, to be predators. He took them under his wing to be like him.
Yeah.
So
I heard a story, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the Farwell brothers would pretend to be police officers and stop people when they were underage. They weren't even 18 or police officers. They would stop people in the street and stuff like that. But again, I read that. I wasn't sure if it was true or not.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so there we are.
It's part of their record for them trying to decertify them, or when they were. I don't know if they're decertified yet. I know there was the process done, but I don't. That's one thing I need to track down if they're totally decertified. But that's one of the things that came out, that they were pretending to be police officers, and that should have disqualified them from becoming police officers.
I mean, where's the background check and stuff like that? You know, I know is this supposed to be stringent background check in all of these things, but
part of the problem with that is Robert Devine was on the panel of the hiring, so basically he was able to cover up for them. So that's partially how they became police officers. They also came from the military. They were bomb techs, so that probably gave them, they're thinking, oh, they're former military, they'd be a good fit. They're local boys. They grew up in Stoughton, so they, the people interviewing thought they were catches, but they weren't. They definitely were not.
So, okay, so we got that. We've got the start of it now. She's 13 plus now, and obviously we could touch upon what happened to her when she's 15. But before we get into all that, I want to progress past that for a second, just to say, like, she was in that. What did she get on to doing after she turned 18 and things like that? What did she went to? What was her employment? What was she doing?
She wanted to go become a police officer. She also did want to go into the military, but I've heard different stories that she was kicked out or had to leave when she was in boot camp. I'm not 100% sure with that. That's something I keep forgetting to ask the family. But she wanted to be a police officer, and she was working as an assistant at the Sharon. I don't know if it's the Sharon school system. So she was a teacher's assistant there, and when she passed away, she was enrolled to become a nurse, and obviously that didn't happen. So that was something she was looking forward to. She was supposed to do that in the fall. I mean, in the spring, right before she passed away. So that was something that she was looking forward to, along with having a child.
Yeah.
So she was looking forward to the future.
I mean, I suppose you've led on to that now, in the sense of she was pregnant. There's a lot of there's a lot of dispute about who the father is, in terms of one of the Farrelly brothers says it was not him and stuff like that. But
yeah,
have you got further insight into that for us?
It's she said she thought it was Matthew Farwell's. The timing is right. She was 3 months pregnant, so the timing where he says the last time he was with her, it's about the same time. So, it did lean towards it was Matthew Farwell's, not Williams.
Okay.
But even if they got DNA, it would have matched both of them because they're twins.
So it made no difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was
Okay.
that too.
But there's a lot to this case, essentially.
Yes,
There's a lot.
a lot of layers to
It's
this case.
you can go down a route and you can go down one tunnel and it gives you about 60 questions. You can go down another one, it gives you another 60 questions.
Yeah.
It broadens it. But key for me is why did you get involved in this? What was it that brought you into this case?
Well, as I said before, I do interviews of family members who have been murdered, and I was working on two cases at the time, and I was in my bedroom cleaning, and the news was on, and the internal report dropped in September 22, and they were talking about the report, and my jaw was on the floor as I watched, and I was yelling at the TV, like, I was like, this is bananas. And I was like, I gotta look into this case. I gotta look into this case. I read a couple articles, and I like to say it was like a siren song, always singing in the back of my head, trying to call me in. But like I said, I was working on 2 other cases, so I really didn't have the time to really do a deep dive. And I would go to bed thinking about her. I'm like, oh, I got to look into that case. I got to look into that case. And my friend from the first case I worked on, her name's Sarah. Her son was murdered. His name is Brandon Embry, if anybody wants to look in the case. And she looks into a lot of cases. She pays attention to what's going on because she likes to get information from that case to see if maybe something like that happened to her son. And she happened upon Sandra's story, and she lives in North Carolina. So it's not like she lives in the New England area. And she said, what is up with that Sandra Birchmore story? And it was almost like, it was almost weird because it was almost like Sandra said, all right, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to go tell Sarah to tell you. And then this happened probably in February of 2023. And Sarah and I, for like 2 weeks, we did a deep dive, and that's all we talked about. We were looking, I did a virtual tour of the apartment building she was at because we wanted to see what kind of doorknobs were there, and we wanted to see kind of like the layouts of the apartment. We looked into how much a teacher's assistant would have made. We were looking into all kinds of like little tidbits of the case. I read the internal report. I applied to get the Massachusetts state report. And from there, Sarah had to go back working on her son's case because she's like the only person working on it. And she said to me, hey, I'll make you a deal. If you make a Facebook page for Sandra, I will make a petition. She said, I can't run a Facebook page because she has her own son's Facebook page to run, and it's a lot of work. And she said, but if you do that, I'll do the petition, because a petition you can just check in every once in a while and see, add some pictures or do a quick update. But you can't do that with a Facebook page, especially when you're trying to get bring as much people in to follow the case as you can. So I said, yeah, that's fine. And a little over a year ago, the anniversary was, I think, 2 weeks ago. I started the page and went from there. Just started pushing her page and pushing her page and pushing her case. And it kind of got easier with the Karen Reed case because it's, they kind of are parallel cases. And I have a firm belief that if the cover-up with Sandra's case didn't happen, I don't know if they would have had the guts to fully try to go for John O'Keefe's cover-up. So because her case was
That's one
the year before John's.
Because that was one of the questions that Rurod's had. Murod, I don't know how you say that, but in your opinion, do you believe that the reason the feds came across the Karen Reed case was that they were already in the process of investigating the Sandra Birchmore case?
I think so. And now that the case has been taken over by the Attorney General, to me, that kind of makes more sense that they were looking into Sandra's case. Because, I mean, a cover-up of, one cop essaying Sandra, statutory, essaying Sandra, and then 2 other cops, inappropriately having, relations with Sandra. That's a big, that alone is a big, huge story. Like that should have been a story that was all across, that should have been a national story, just that portion. And then you have her death portion. That's a whole nother separate issue. So I think that the FBI, because Stoughton has been investigated before. They've had a bunch of problems in that police department. And the funny thing about that is Robert Devine helped get rid of the other dirty police officers. So it makes you wonder if he did that to make himself look better so nobody would look at him.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it even more dodgy, I think. But yeah, so you went into a lot of that with the sense of you deep dived a lot. You went to the virtual tours and stuff like that. But when was the first time you thought, hang on, I think this might be a murder, not self-alleviation?
That when I saw that report, her friend was speaking on the TV and she was very passionate about it. And I was like I said, I was talking to my TV and I was like, girl, she was murdered. Like, I just felt like the second I heard the report, because they said, they laid out that, the 3 officers, involved in inappropriate relationships with her. And, oh, she also unalived herself. And I was like, yeah, no. Like that instant, I was like, no, she didn't. And that's when I started to, especially, I've said this in a bunch of different places. When I was 13, I tried to unalive myself. And I know what it kind of like, what goes through someone's head when they do that. And I don't know if that, I'm like 99% sure she was murdered. But, there's that 1%. You have to look have to look at the other facts to see if that she could have done it to herself. And I believe that if she did do it to herself, it was because of these men. She felt desperate if she did this to herself, which I personally do not believe she did. I think she was murdered. So then when I saw that report in September 22, that I thought she was murdered.
I think there's a lot for me then looking at this case. There's a lot of standalone things. So
Yes.
your report, anyway, we'll go through stuff now, but the video and all. When you piece them all together, that brings. So if you just look at one thing, I think, but then you look at that leads you on to something else, and then leads you on to something else. It's like, well, hang on, there's just too many things. You're linking the same people, bringing them all together, and then this happens, which again we'll cover as we go along here. So I can see why you've started looking into this case. I did look at that myself, and that did intrigue me. Shall we say it did intrigue me about what happened to in the past, and it did make me want to go into this a bit further to understand it. And then there's other pieces that came out, and I was like, oh fucking hell, this is not Jesus Christ, this is serious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And kind of like the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case, when it first happened, they tried to make it seem like it was a tragic accident, and then the case kind of, they would show some things, clips every once in a while, but the story kind of went away. That's why whenever you hear like, Turtle Boy or, other creators talk about it, they say, you know what, I didn't think about the case because I was like, oh, it was a tragic story. That's what everybody thought around here. And same thing with Sandra. We're all like, oh, that's a horrible story. And then it went away. It was like news for like a day or two. And then the story completely went away. Once in a while, an article would pop up, but it completely went away. And it was crazy. It's crazy that even if you take her death out of the story, what happened to her as a child should be a huge story. And it wasn't. And that's sad.
Yeah.
It makes
It's like
you wonder
hidden.
why.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder who buried it, who told somebody to bury it, who I'm not, did somebody say, I'm not going to give you any more access to us if you keep talking about this story? type deal thing. Why was her story buried?
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't disagree with you today at all. Patty's got a question, yeah, and I don't know this, so I'm hoping you do. Have you heard anything that would link what was done to Sandra to rumors about Chris Albert's pizza shop?
No. I've heard some rumors about, that there was a rumor that John O'Keefe, because he was a cop for that. That's what he did as a police officer. So there, people said, oh, there were rumors that, oh, he might have had something on his phone about Sandra, and because I personally think that I call it an iceberg. Sandra is only the tip of the iceberg. Who are the other cops that knew about this? Who are the other cops that participated in this? And I don't think it's just the three of them. Oh, technically four, because there is a fourth officer that engaged in inappropriate relations with Sandra too. He wasn't part of the grooming. It was when she was older, when she was an adult. But what's underneath the surface that we don't know about Sandra's case? So I have heard that rumor, but I've never heard that it had anything to do with that Chris Albert's shop at all.
That's fine. I didn't know anything about that, so I'm glad that you did. That's fine. There's always going to be rumors though as well. So this is part of what we have to decipher: is what's rumors, what's not. And it's one of the reasons I never speak to family and friends when I research, because I never want emotion to take over. And then once I've done my own basis, then I go and speak to family and friends. It's like, right, now we can get fillers then around it.
That's what I did.
Better.
I researched, I looked into the case, and in my research, I've reached out to like everybody I could see on Sandra's friends list, and I heard back from one person, and then a couple people who are on the page. We talked. Just I mean, you need to know who the person you're talking about that person. You need to know their personality, especially when you don't know the person. And especially since I'm trying to engage and get people to look at her case and be on board to fight for her. And if there's no personal connection, if you don't know a little bit about this person besides what happened to her, the person gets lost. And we never want the person who has been murdered or something like what happened to Sandra to be lost in the story.
Not true, and that's why essentially that's why you're here with me, because we need to understand a lot more about Sandra. So yeah, right on. I got your question. Don't worry. Spacey Stacy says, I'd never even heard about Stoughton scandal until the podcast The Case, and live on the Stoughton line. I believe her life was taken and not by her own doing. She mentions The Case. The Case is something next week. You can start playing some episodes of The Case. So we can listen to that together, because that's Kirk Minahan and Dave Cullenane. They did some work on that. So we'll get that insight as well next week.
If you haven't listened to The Case, I do recommend going to listen to that, and then come join our Facebook group, or you can follow me on Twitter. But I post a lot of stuff on Facebook, and The Case did such an amazing deep dive of Sandra's case, and they branched out to let people know about the Explorers program, to see why, hey Cherry, to see why, see what has been going on in that program, not even just in Stoughton, outside of Stoughton, across the country, because there's more than just what happened to Sandra. There are other children who have been abused across the United States from that program. And it's insane to me that it's police officers doing it, because who do you go to? If you're abused by a police officer, who do you go to? Are you going to go to their boss?
No one.
Yeah, you're going to the police to complain about the police. So it's a scary thing. People don't want to come forward.
I agree. You said Cherry's here. Cherry's on top. So hiya, Cherry. Nice to see you as well. Hey, everyone. Right on. I got your question, but I will ask this question when it's appropriate. I got a question for that. So don't worry, I'm not avoiding it. Cops left camp after the cover up. So Scott is asking, fourth officer was an animal control, then cop, and his name, what was his name? Do you know
Joshua Hill. He was the animal control officer in Stoughton, and then he became a police officer, and he became an officer in the schools. So he was also, he has a little weird history too. I've heard some allegations about him too from when he was working in the school. So he had basically, there was sexual relations traded for a cat, because he was the cat was off the books. So,
right. I mean, okay, Jesus. All right. Yeah, fine. That's even further down that we need to even go to yet. So, the Facebook group, Erin Hack says, Facebook page is amazing. All the links for your channel, for Mizzy's channel and Facebook group is in the description box. So click away and go over there. I know some of you have already joined, but yeah, feel free to go over and do that either now or afterwards. But you've got your own YouTube channel anyway. That's as well promoted.
And when you join, I recommend that you click on my name, A Mixed Girl in a Mixed Up World. That's what I post under. If you click on that, you could scroll through everything I've posted. So there's a lot of stuff that you can see what I post. Because it's hard to go down the rabbit hole when the other people are posting, but I post snippets from the case, the filings, and the reports that I've gotten. So I recommend clicking on my name if you want to go down the rabbit hole.
So we've got that. So there's lots of info there. And also, everyone here is at different levels. I saw, I think Sandra came in just now. She knows nothing about this case. So everyone here is at different levels. So don't worry. I'm trying to cover this for everybody. But if you want to learn more, as Mizzy said, go and follow her. You can do that. If you've not listened to the case, go and listen to the case. But I'm also going to be playing episodes of the case for the next couple of weeks as well. So don't worry. And if you have heard it before, just come back and we can have a chat about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think it's important, just because some people know this case very well and might thinking, oh Jesus, we start from scratch again. I know all this. Just remember, not everyone knows it. Not everyone knows it, guys. So it's important that you are able to chat and say things. I've learned stuff here about Farrell, his bloody mask. He was an anti-masker or something.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. That's one of the rumors I've heard, that he was an anti-masker and he didn't wear masks. So it's kind of funny he wore it that night on the way into her.
We'll get onto that now. I won't play that again. But Spacey Stacey as well. Apologies, Sarah P. will be excited to block you. So you're back though, so it's fine. Mrs. Main explaining this case and is so kind and patient. Yeah, we're very grateful she's here.
Thank you,
Very
Terry.
grateful for you.
Thank you.
There we are. Right. So Scott says outsiders need to understand the matrix of corruption, this cluster of corrupt towns, how they operate, and understand they're all under the same corrupt Norfolk County DA office headed by Morrissey. And that's the thing. When I started covering this, people go, "Why are you covering this? It's all about Karen Reid." It's like, well, for me, it's all together. It's all intertwined.
Oh yeah.
One leads to the other. It's like two roads merge in the middle. So
exactly. It's kind of weird. Their cases happen almost exactly a year apart. Sanders was February 1st. John was January 29th. So there wasn't a couple, a year and 3 days, 2 days. It's kind of crazy how close in all the corruption that went along with the cover-ups of both cases.
So one of the things I wanted to question.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a question on a bit of rights on, but here we go. Let me just share this, right? The MSP report.
Okay.
Right. This is done by Trooper Matthew Dunn, who found Sandra. I just want to go through this bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I examined Birchmore. So I read this obviously at the start because I examined Birchmore for any indication of physical abuse, to include grab marks, scratches, markings consistent with being struck or apparent defensive wounds. I noted none. I observed no bruising, swelling, or external trauma to Birchmore. I noted no markings on the neck, no indicate an attempt to struggle or loosen or remove the ligature. So when I read that, if I'm being honest, I thought, well, it's game over there. Because if there's no markings or anything like that, then, that's it. So that's why I say all the time, you need to read everything, you look at everything, digest everything, because that alone, to me, sounds like she's self-alleviating herself. Case closed. It's only when then you go into other stuff and then see that there's one example is that the guy's name, the guy Matthew Farrell, his phone was wiped clean, I
Yep.
believe, from all correspondence. We see what's happening with Karen, and this is why I'm saying Karen's intertwined. We've seen all the mistakes, not mistakes, but all the corruptions happening with Karen Reid. So when you add some of these pieces together with the same players on both sides, I then start questioning, right, okay, well, where's the photographs then of all this? Were there photographs and stuff? So do you know if were there any photographs? Were there anything taken of these things?
Yeah, there were photographs taken. They just won't release them.
So there we fucking go. Which is not great. Now, even if there weren't marks at all, it doesn't matter. I mean, that doesn't mean she did it herself. But there needs to be transparency in all these things. But when this is what I'm saying again. I want to highlight this because when you read that bit of what was just said there, I was like, well, it's definitely she self-alleviated herself, or
Mm-hmm.
chances were that she would. It took me ages, Mizzy. I'm not joking you. It took me probably 6 weeks to go through this case and try to piece things together and stuff like that. Because there's actually a lot of stuff here, and you've got to also be careful about what you interpret. So I'm a big advocate for free Karen Reid, as you can see, and all that. But I can see the missing pieces in Karen's and the reports and stuff like that. But if you were coming into this fresh, 100%, in my opinion, you would think it was a self alleviation reading that report, for that exact reason. But when you listen, that they have not released the autopsy. I don't believe they've not released the pictures or anything like that. They've not released hardly anything. That's when you've got to start questioning. Hang on, why are they covering these things up? Because they should be accessible. They should be, if there's nothing to hide, why aren't they accessible? So am I right in saying that there's no the autopsy is not public or anything like that, or am I completely wrong there?
No, the autopsy in the state of Massachusetts, autopsies are private. So there's only two
Okay.
people who can technically get the autopsy, although they just both sides of the lawsuit have asked to have the autopsy released to them, which I found was kind of weird because her aunt is her next of kin, so she could have gotten the autopsy already. Her lawyer could have got the autopsy. I had a witness come forward to me. Somebody very, very close to them has seen the autopsy, and they said they think she was murdered. And they said they were adamant that to get a message to the family that they need to look at the autopsy. And the person who did see it, the person who came forward, these people are very close. So when it's somebody that somebody they trusted a lot. So I passed that on to the family members. The thing is, Matthew Farwell was so much bigger than Sandra, and how she died, he could have been right behind her and just, put the strap around her neck, and there would have been nothing Sandra could do.
No.
He was so much bigger than her. I mean, Sandra's very petite. She's very short. And he's like really tall and a big guy. So, and the case in the last episode, they do say that semen was found in her underwear and there was supposedly a broken necklace on the floor. So how are they going to say that there was no struggle if there's a broken necklace on the floor? So, like I said, I haven't found that information. That's information that the case said.
I just want to address this for a second, because I mentioned about people think that what I just showed, that she would just have to leave herself. And right, someone says, right, but he's a cop. What did the ME say? My point into that is that if a cop writes in a report what they see, then that's perjury if he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to put down what he think, it happened. So there's no reason for us not to trust that report in terms of looking at it. Now, the only reason I question the report now is because of what else is happening around. When he put that together, I mean, if we start questioning all police officers, we'd be here every single, where do we end this? Do you know what I mean? So it has to be an element of trust there. Now, it's only because we know other things are happening in this place that I now do not trust what he wrote, 100%, because of the corruption that's going on.
And I have another layer. There's another layer to that. Supposedly, I had a source come to me, and I'm not the only person who has heard this story. David McGrath of Unsafe Spaces has heard, somebody came to him, and there's a lot of other people who have, they've heard this story. Supposedly 3 of the 5 Canton police officers that were on the scene for Sandra's death didn't agree with Massachusetts State Police's assessment of what was going on with Sandra's case. And they told their supervisor, and supposedly a letter or an email was sent to the Massachusetts State Police and the DA's office. Now, I did a FOIA request for both the Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police Station, and they've all said that there is no email. But the person who came forward to my source, and I assume might be the same person who came forward to Dave, would be in the know. So supposedly 3 officers don't agree with what happened with Sandra.
And that's important. That's important. And what was just going to add to that, there was the ME report. We don't know what's in the ME report because people ask out, did they take fingernail clippings and stuff like that? We don't know.
That's what I would like to know. Did they take fingernail clippings? Did they do a DNA test? What was under her fingernails? Did they do a rape test? A rape kit? They don't necessarily have to. It might not have been a rape because she was in love with this guy. But did they have sex before? If there's semen in her underwear, then they must have had sex. I would like to know, was she clothed? Was she naked? Those are things that we don't know. And, was there any bruising on her body? And when you hang yourself, it wasn't a regular hanging. It's also the type of hanging that is weird in this case. She was not hanging from something. She was attached to her door handle, and it's called a pressure hanging. It's what a lot of prisoners do to hang themselves in prison because they don't have any place to really hang themselves. So they do you lean forward, and the pressure of the what's around your neck is what does it. It's not from hanging, it's not gravity. It's you doing, putting the pressure. The ligature was supposedly very tight around her neck and very tight around the door handle, which is kind of weird. I don't know if you could physically do that. Do both. You could see wrapping it tightly around, but could you get it? That's something I wonder. Like I said, she was 23 years old, and there are plenty other ways for a 23-year-old to unalive themselves, and for a 23-year-old girl to think of a pressure hanging. She was seated on her floor. She wasn't elevated. She was totally flat on the floor. So she would have had to have done it herself, leaned forward. And that's weird. That's weird for a 23-year-old girl. It wasn't like she was in prison and had no other means. You know, she could have taken medication and just went to sleep. So that's just how she was hung is weird. Like I said, prisoners tend to do it. And also Robin Williams had his case was similar, but he was slightly raised off the floor. She was, or I don't know if it was a floor or a chair. He was slightly elevated. Sandra wasn't. She was sitting on the floor. So that's weird to me. And I know a lot of other people think that's weird.
No, I'm with you. I'll discuss that in a second. Hi, Wendy, by the way. I'd love to see you, Wendy. Tox analysis. Again, we don't know tox analysis because they won't release any of that stuff.
I found out because I spoke to the lead investigator, the supervisor of the investigation, Trooper Fanning, and he said there was nothing in her system.
Yes, then. Okay, so she wasn't drugged or anything.
No.
So we mentioned.
That's the thing is that's what they're saying.
Do you trust that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Carlene as well. So, so I cover another case every Saturday, and the wife of a guy called Matthew Moore, and she alleviated herself basically in a similar fashion to Sandra, but it was a tree branch to hang over there and then just lean forward. Basically, is how she did it. So quite similar, just a little bit different methods. And he was accused and went to trial for basically staged suicide, and it came out that no, she did commit self-alleviate herself. So that's what brought me a little bit into this as well, because I'm covering on one hand where someone literally did do this themselves, to then Sandra, who people believe didn't do it themselves. So it's contrasting, and I was a bit fighting with my brain with that a little bit, because it's similar cases but different outcomes in some ways. So I don't understand. So this go back to the scene, because one of my questions which I asked on the first episode was the phone. The phone was 12 inches away from her or something, but like, what was in the phone? I presume we don't know what was in the phone, because my questions are, like you touched upon it, how did you find out about this? How did you find out about how to alleviate yourself this way? Because there's so many other ways to do it. She's on a third floor balcony if you came to it. As you say, there's drugs, there's so many things you could do. Why did you search for anything? And also, when was her phone last active? Those are two key questions I have.
I have some of those answers. Her phone was, what would they say, a foot away from, 12 inches away from her hand and 6 inches away from her knee. I specifically, I don't know 100% about if she looked anything up, but I believe she didn't because of my next answer. I did speak to, like I said, Trooper Fanning, and I flat out asked him, did her phone move after he left? And he said, no, there was no activity. So either he did it, or their theory is she did it right away.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's weird. Like, she was on her phone all the time, even at work. The teacher that she worked with had to tell her to get off her phone. So, and she was in conversations with people before he got there. She was in a text message with her cousin, and she was Snapchatting with a coworker because because of the storm that was happening that night. She was trying to figure out what was going on with school the next day. And if she was upset, you would have thought she might have reached out to one of the two, because she was actually physically in conversations, and the conversation stopped. The conversation with her cousin stopped a little bit before 9, and the Snapchat with her coworker stopped at 9, and it went unanswered. So he got there. The timestamp, I found out from the police that the timestamp on the video is not correct. It's, I believe, 13 minutes fast. So he actually got there about 14 past 9. So, but her phone, there was no more activity on the phone after he left. That is suspicious.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that as well. I believe it's suspicious. Now, obviously, again, on its own, it's not enough to say that he did it. But again, it's like a jigsaw. It's like one piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
And it's when you start putting the pieces together, it becomes picture. Now, I'm not going to, just to be clear to everyone in chat, I mean, I think most people here will think that he did murder her. I think that's a consensus here. I'm not pushing that narrative towards people. I want people to make their own minds up. It's so important that you go and watch these documents, look at these documents, follow Mizzy, look at all that. I'll try and keep things as honest as possible. Make your own minds up. As I say, it took me weeks of my own research with other things as well. I was doing other things as well, so I've probably done it in about a week, probably. But with other things, I couldn't. But come to your own narrative is what I'm trying to say.
I recommend people if you I mean, if you want to go listen to the case first, that's a good place to start. But when you come back, read the internal report about the abuse first, because that did come first. The Stoughton's report, and then read the Massachusetts State report and the Canton. There's a few reports from Canton Police. I recommend reading them all because it gives you a broader, picture of what was going on.
Yeah. We're also going to go through all of that as well. Here, people are not sure where to get it. This is I'm not just doing like a 2 or 3 episode thing. This is going to be a long series. I know I'm going off on places here and there, but it's like when you got people like Mizzy willing to come on, you just get them on. To me, I'm not going to wait and say come back in 6 weeks. It's like, no, let's get her on. So we jump in here a little bit, but we get to know a little bit about Sandra, which I think is important as well.
Why don't we take it from to give a quick summary from on February 1st, 2021. Sandra, like I said, she was messaging with a coworker and talking to her cousin. Matthew Farwell shows up at her apartment. They supposedly have a huge argument and they break up. That's his story. He says he leaves. He deletes all his information, all conversations with her, deletes her from his phone. And supposedly they said that the second he left, she went and unalived herself. Mm-hmm. And you've showed the video. You said we were going to show it again. When you see him walk into that apartment and how fast he leaves, that will change your opinion on the story too. I personally think that she was murdered, but you also have to you have to look at the other side. Maybe she did kill herself. I personally don't feel she did, but you still have to say it's a possibility. But even if she did, this is what I keep saying. Even if she did kill herself, unalive herself, she did it because of the abuse these men put on her, and especially Matthew Farwell. She was pregnant with his baby, supposedly. His wife it's very suspicious that he was even at her apartment. His wife was in the hospital getting ready to have a C-section the next morning. It was a huge snowstorm. That's why I believe she was in the hospital the night before, because just in case she would be able to get to her appointment. So he was traveling to her house in a snowstorm. You don't need to go to somebody's house to break up with them. He could have called her. He could have FaceTimed her. He could have sent her a text. He could have sent her an email. He did not have to be at her apartment to break up with her. So why was Matthew Farwell at Sandra's apartment that night?
Was there any text messages though? Like, I know he wiped her phone, but she still had messages. Was there anything in her phone, maybe inviting him over or anything like that? Do we know?
We don't know because they have not released that information. He was very familiar with that apartment. He helped her move into that apartment, so he knew the ins and outs of that apartment. That's why he knew where the camera is. He knew where not to show his face.
So I'll because we're there now. I'll play the video again.
Okay.
Obviously, you've seen the first series. You've seen some of my questions about this video.
Yes.
I've gone over this video so many times since then. I've seen double by the end. So let's play this again.
Let me add something. Part of your conversation with everybody about the video led me to think about something, and I think I have an answer for your question, one of your questions of this video.
And this is the thing, right? People say, "What? Like, why are you asking all this question?" Because I don't have the answers. I'm thinking out loud, and this is what I want people to think, and then bring that. Like, I'll share screen. Hang on, I'll share screen. So, like, people said to me, somebody wrote to me and said I was a dummy, right? Because where the hell is this gone? I took it as whatever, but they called me dummy because I didn't know what that what do you call it? Well, that broom is. Hang on, where's it gone?
The
snow. This thing. They said you're a dummy. We don't get fucking snow in Wales, so I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. So right, let's go through. We'll start with it.
I think she cleaned off her car because if you look in the back room, there's a little bit of snow right then. If you look by the door, you could see a little snow. You'll see a little more when he comes in. This is around, I believe, 5 o'clock. I think she cleaned off her car real quick, but brought it in because they ended up getting like a foot and a half of snow. Don't quote me on it. I know it was at least 12 inches. So they got a foot. I think it was 12.5, but I could be off on the point. So I think she brought it in because sometimes your doors freeze. So she probably wanted to have it when she went out so she could just, brush her car off.
So, but whatever reason she brought it in for, she had every intention in my mind anyway to go back out, whether it was that evening or next morning. You have every intention. Why else would you A, go out and brush some snow off, and B, bring it in? Because if you're going to unalive yourself, it doesn't really matter. You don't have this wait or care about that. So fine.
Before you play the video, there is one aspect of that I can say from my personal own. When I tried to unalive myself, there are times when the situation you're in makes you want to do it. The day I tried to do it, I woke up that morning. I did it at 13. I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to unalive myself today. That's how fast it was for me. I had been thinking about it. It was something that was dancing around in my head, but I woke up that morning and I was like, okay, today's the day, So people do sometimes almost spontaneously, but there's a reason. It's not nothing that makes them want to do it, that sparks that for them to do that. So when you're looking at this, like you said, she had intentions to go to work the next day. This is somebody who was getting ready for the storm.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point about that as well, I agree with you. By the way, I get what you're saying about that. My only thing is with what she was thinking, that happened super quick because if she started to leave herself, then he would have slammed the door and then she would have done it. I think that's quick. Do you know what I mean? To do it that quick, knowing exactly how you're going to do it. I don't know. I think that's for me. Just it's just a stretch for me. Do you know what I mean? But I 100% get what you're saying about getting up in the morning. But you also had suicidal thoughts beforehand as well. By all accounts, I don't think she did, but maybe she did. We don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I've heard different versions. She did have mental issues. She was being treated. She did have a therapist. So she did have some stuff going on. But just because you had stuff going on does not mean you would kill yourself, unalive yourself, sorry. And doesn't mean that you're thinking about hurting yourself. And even sometimes when you're kind of like, I don't want to be here anymore, that doesn't mean you're going to do it. You're just feeling depressed or anxious, or you're working through it in your head. It's not that you're going to go do it.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. And no, that's fine. I totally agree with you. I just want to cover this, Scott. If you took the brush in to prep for a snow-covered car in the morning, far easier to have the brush in hand than opening a snow-covered car to get it. Snow falls into your car, and it sucks. Just put out there, 100%. I know. The amount of people that messaged me going, "It's for the snow." I got it. The chat told me last. I got it. Thank you, everybody. I understand now. We don't have that in Wales, but I got it. Please, no one mentioned to me.
With what he's saying, a foot of snow is a lot. I mean, we're used to it, but it's still a lot of snow, especially when you got to go to work and clean your car off. So I could see why she brought it in the house.
Yeah. No, 100%. Once I knew what it was, but also my reasoning, right? I thought it was a window cleaner thing. So I was like, well, even if it was a window cleaner, still gonna bring it in. Do you know what I mean? Still gonna leave it. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine. I get it now, people. Chrissy just says, as a mum, when pregnant, my hormones made me a big bitch, but I believe she wanted to be a mum and alive. Yeah, that's a big thing. She wanted to be a mother.
Let me touch upon that too. She desperately wanted to be a mom. She wanted family. She wanted somebody to love. She would tell anyone that would listen that she was pregnant. She called people that she hadn't talked to in years just to tell them she was having a baby. She was so excited about this child. And that's another reason why I don't believe that she would have unalived herself. And she had told a coworker that she believed that her relationship with the father wasn't going to continue and she was ready to raise this child on her own. So
those are big statements, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Plastic kitchens as an ice scraper from a windshield when I couldn't find a scraper. I'm learning a lot about. Can we just move on? Hi, Totally Pip. We'll just move on from the snow thing. I get it. I get the freaking snow thing now. Right, let's get on to this video. So starting from 37 seconds in, because the rest of it is just her coming in and out anyway.
Yeah.
So, but she's coming in. You say it's about quarter of an hour out the time. So this would be around 5:30 then, just after 5:30 in the evening. So, she goes in, and then this lump
You notice though?
comes in.
Hold on. Go back to that. Go back to that for a second. You'll notice
I need to
look at her hand.
Oh fuck! Hang on, I need to.
Okay, good.
The phone.
Bam. What does she always have in her hand? Her phone.
Yeah. A phone. Yeah, I agree. I could see a phone there. That's a good spot. And then we go to 0.5 as well. Right, will this let me rewind it now?
Oh, that's fine. People can see that right there. She had her phone in her hand. She was somebody who was always on her phone.
And then we got the lump coming in. Like I said this so many times, and more I watch this. So you can see his jacket is open. He's got his jacket's open there, right? It is open. It's fine. When he gets a little bit closer, I thought, honest God, I am telling you now, he's got something underneath it. I don't know what it is. He's got that's a lump. That's a lump. That is a big boy there. Because when he leaves, he's not that big. And my second spot is that there's no logo anywhere to be seen there, right?
Look at his head's down. You can't see his face.
Not looking.
The mask is on. He was an anti-masker. He made sure that you couldn't identify him.
When he comes out, first thing he does is looks up at the camera. He does look up at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know this is where everyone disputes it. That logo was there. But what I'll say here is he looks a lot thinner to me. He looks thinner in that photo. I know camera angles and stuff like that. I understand it can play. So I'm only going by what I see.
Okay.
Also,
go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, you. I don't even fucking remember what I was going to say now.
Sorry. The logo.
Okay.
Now, I know
Logo, yeah.
when you were doing the video last week, you were trying to figure out if it was his coat or if it was a sweatshirt. It was actually his sweatshirt. The logo's on his sweatshirt. It's a logo from his military service. They did mention it somewhere in the reports. I couldn't find it, but I remember reading it. So it is a sweatshirt underneath his coat. His coat is open. But when I discussed this with her cousin and we were going over, I personally don't see anything when he's going in, but I can see why you guys would think that.
Mm-hmm.
But it brought me to this conclusion. I have two versions. I think he possibly had that sweatshirt on inside out when he went in because he knew the logo was there. One, or when he was in her apartment, he switched the sweatshirts because she had this sweatshirt.
Mm-hmm.
That would might have calculated why it looks different because the other sweatshirt might have been a little bulkier. And I think he switched into this sweatshirt because he knew he couldn't leave this sweatshirt at her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So I
got
think
you.
One of two things, that he either switched the sweatshirt out with the sweatshirt that was in the apartment already, or he had this sweatshirt on inside out when he came, but because, he normally isn't committing murders, he wasn't thinking about the sweatshirt when he left. Because obviously, if there was semen in her underwear, they had sex while he was there. So he would have had to take the sweatshirt off.
Mm-hmm.
So he might not have thought that, I gotta hide the logo.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's plausible. I think there's. So do you think that he left the other hoodie or whatever in the apartment then?
There.
Cool.
I mean, it would have DNA on it, but that one was more important to get out of there than the other one, because this one has his military service on it. I don't know. I mean, it could have his name, could have his
on it. Yeah, it could. I know what you're saying about, but I go back to the logo, but also the lack of belly. I just think he looks thin there. So it's just all of it suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back for a second. So somebody's saying about coats and stuff. So his coat is open, coming in and out.
Yes.
So his coat's open there. Oops, go back a second. So you can see his coat is open. It's open there. And that's why I think he's got a little bit of a bulge there.
And when it's just around, his coat's also the same amount pretty much that he was before. So you cannot see that logo at all.
No. And as I say, I just see something there. He's got something underneath him. And when he jump up, then he comes out from here. He looks up. He's got a logo, and he looks thinner. And my take on it is this, right? I get what you're saying about the jumper. That's plausible. Maybe there was something else that he changed it. I also think that he did have something underneath. So the hoodies in your pocket stuff. I think that he did put some stuff in there. I think in my opinion, he had his gloves, maybe the weapon of choice to alleviate her. Because do they know what? Have they announced exactly what it was that alleviated her?
That's the funny thing, and I need to grab my phone for it because there's kind of a lot to say with it. So the Massachusetts State Police have not said what it was.
Yeah.
But there's some suspicious stuff with the Canton police officers because they were the first police officers on the scene. There were 5 Canton police officers: Officer Cotard, Yeaton, Brady, McCourt, and Lank. And most of your audience knows Officer Lank from the Karen Weed case.
Yeah.
So the first officer to see her, now listen to what I'm about to say. The first officer to see her said it was a belt or a lanyard or a string/rope. That makes no sense. You could tell, I could see a lanyard and a belt kind of looking similar, and a string and a rope. I can see, is that a string or is it a rope? Is it thick enough to be called a rope? I can see that, but you can't confuse the two different categories. So that's Officer Cotard. Officer Yeaton, he's the second person to see her. He says he saw her, it was a scarf. Okay. Well, a scarf does not look like a belt or a lanyard, and it doesn't look like a string or a rope. The next officer to see her was McCourt and Lank. McCourt says it was a dark colored strap. A dark colored strap could be considered, a belt. There are belts that look like a strap or a lanyard. I could see that. But it's not exactly the same description. One saying belt, lanyard, and the other one saying a strap. That's still different. And then the strangest one, Sergeant Lank. He describes what Officer Cotard saw, not what he saw. And he said there was a strap around her neck. Officer Cotard did not say there was a strap. He said a belt or a lanyard or string or rope. Now, I don't have the 5th officer's report. How can 5 officers, 5 grown men, and this is only the Canton officers, not the state police ones, how can 5 officers not agree on the weapon of choice for either her murderer or herself to unalive her? Mm-hmm. That right there, that's suspicious. That is very, very suspicious. I don't know if it was by design. I don't know if this was a way to put it in there because they didn't agree with Massachusetts State Police's what they were saying. So to make the reports a little different would make somebody go, that's weird. Or it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable that 5 police officers can't determine what she had tied as a ligature around her neck.
And also it's hard because there will definitely be pictures of it, but no one is showing those pictures. That it just the more you read, the more dodgy it sounds even more. Do you know what I mean?
Like I said, how does 5 police officers, 5 grown men, not agree with what she had tied around her throat?
Yeah, that's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Do you know what I mean? If you saw it, then you've got an opinion. You know what it is. There's a big difference between a belt, which is sturdy, and a scarf, which is not.
Exactly.
There's a big difference.
Like I said,
there's a big difference.
A belt and a strap, I could see. There are some belts that look like there are rumors that it could have been like the strap of a gym bag. So I could see, because there are belts that are that same material that are, that kind of look similar. I could see not under that, but that's not what's in the report. There's 4 different answers.
Yeah, no, that's not. That's just dodgy. But also, like for me, a belt or something like that makes sense because that, for me, is one of the things he hid. He had, for me, I think he hid in his pockets going in there. So somebody said about he admitted that he was there. Yeah, he did admit that he was there, but I mean, when he was presented with it, going, "That's you, mate."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what else he's going to do? Of course, he has to admit he was there.
There's a witness who recognized him. The maintenance man, he didn't know who he was. He didn't know his name, but he recognized that that's the person who helped her move in. So he said, I saw him helping her move in. So
Then
it was
they
easy for them to
picked-
just, and then they saw the emblem on his sweatshirt. So they knew they had more information. Then everybody was calling them saying Matthew Farrell, Matthew Farrell, Matthew Farrell. So they knew, who it was easily.
Yeah. So he's got to be like, okay. I mean, it's different if he came forward and said, "Oh shit, I was there," but he didn't do that from all accounts. He just waited until it was presented to him, going,
Yeah,
"Hey,
she was found on the 4th. He was interviewed on the 6th in a parking lot of, I think, the elementary school in Canton. He wasn't even taken in and sat down. It was a friendly, interview.
yeah, I can only imagine."
And he lied. He said they started having sex in 2020. That was a lie.
Of course. I mean, of course, he knows now because underage, all that they're all gonna lie. Nothing you can, you can't believe anything they say because they're all gonna watch their own backs now.
Yeah.
People want me to play it again, so I'm gonna play it again, right? So I've got a 0.5 speed, okay, so it's a little bit slower. There she is pulling the phone out, checking her phone. Here he comes. And I'll play it at real speed as well in a second so you can see how quick he exits the building as well.
And look how tall he is compared to how tall she was.
He is fucking huge.
He is a big
He's a
man.
fucking monster. Big man. He's like, what do you call that? Oh, I don't know what you call him, but Jesus Christ, he's
Yeah.
huge.
And
He's
she's
not
very
somebody you want to
tiny.
fuck about with. Yeah, she's tiny. He's like, oof. Yeah.
If you don't think that's suspicious how he just walked in that apartment building, I don't know what to tell you.
Not just walking in, but how he walks out as well. So, and people are saying about the baseball cap. Look at him looking as well. Oh, I don't know if he had a baseball cap on the way out. I don't know.
I never noticed a baseball cap. When the door opens,
No.
look how much snow is in the background too. At
Yeah,
that point,
there's
there's a
loads.
good amount of snow.
There's loads. Right, let's play on full speed then, so people can see it. Because I think this is once you play, I play on 0.5 just to show the logo, show everything like that.
Yeah.
But he was in the apartment for about 35 minutes, I believe.
No, it's
I think
28 or 29.
Oh, 20 to 29 minutes, fine. Let's watch the whole thing. We'll go to the start. We'll watch it at
Look how tall she is.
playback speed.
Look at how tall she is compared to. She comes up to
Well,
about where that hand sanitizer thing is.
what I'm going to do is try and catch her by the door.
Look how short she is.
There she is, right. So there she is by the door, right? You can see she comes up to about
The
the
bottom of that
middle of
door.
that, right?
The bottom
Yeah,
part of that.
So yeah, I mean, I suppose that's her here. But if you straightened up, I think she's just over that. But yeah, so she's waiting. She's there. Great.
It's so sad to see these are her last moments.
As you can see, there's snow there. You can see a little bit of snow there as well.
Yeah.
Also, what I thought was interesting, hang on, let's go back a second here, right? If I play this, right? So she's just come in through the back door, and the door is automated, so it's already closing, fine. It's very quickly to close. When he leaves, fucking hell, it doesn't close for a while.
Yeah.
I think that's how much he pushed it. Right.
Now look
He's
how.
bent down, right?
Yeah.
He's bent there a little bit. So if he is stretching up, he's up to about here. If
Yep.
he's standing tall, so you can imagine from there to there, and he's a big lad,
Yes.
giant. He comes in, looks down all the time. Looks up. Now just watch it go out. His pace quickens a little bit. He's straight out there, bang, and he's not interested in looking back. He's like, let's fucking go. So there we are. With a baseball cap, I don't know about the baseball cap, guys. I don't see it, Um,
I don't see it either, but I took some stills, and I can see if I can get that information. I've never noticed a baseball cap, but it's very
no, have I.
possible.
Right, I'll go out with that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go through this. There's a lot. I mean, people. I think it was RM who he said. Here we go. There has to be more camera footage. Yeah.
No, that's the only camera in the building.
No, but I mean, not just there, but I mean, anywhere, as in outside, him coming in, not just into there, but anywhere.
Hospital footage. He went back to the hospital to see his wife. I assume. I assume he was going to spend the night in the hospital with her, or maybe he wasn't because he does have other kids. But I'm sure the kids were with family. So he was probably going to stay in the hospital just in case she had the baby during the night. I don't know. That's me making an assumption. So if he went back to the hospital, what was his demeanor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How was he acting? What was it? Hang on, Chris. He was saying, what was the time frame of her being in the apartment till he arrived? She was there. What? 5:30 till
a few hours.
3. Yeah, three odd hours, 3.5 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Before he arrived. Scott sees a cap when he's coming in. You see his brim sticking out from the hoodie. Yeah. Are there any still recordings of him? No.
No, that's the only video that they said they had. It was what's inside the buildings.
There we go. And did he change his clothes before going to the hospital? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions that I think there's answers to it, but they won't release the answers. That's the problem.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of what we need to see, or the family need to see, the autopsy, the pictures. I know the family don't want to see the pictures, but there's a lot of research needs to go into this.
I'm curious.
No,
if the hyoid bone was broken, because the hyoid bone tends to break when it's a manual suffocation. When somebody strangles you, it doesn't tend to break during hangings. It can, but it doesn't tend to. I don't know if because it was a pressure hanging and that would mean she was leaning forward that it would break, but that's something that I would like to know from the autopsy.
So when I spoke to Matt Moore about this, because obviously his wife did the same, first question he had was, forget everything. What's the autopsy say?
Mm-hmm.
That was his first question. He goes, yeah, I mean, cool, you got all these things, but what's the autopsy say? That the answers in the autopsy, he said to me. He said, if you want me to look at the autopsy, I will, but everything you need to know is in the autopsy.
Oh, I was agree. That
I was like, shit. To me, that's the one thing they want to share.
Yeah. Part of it, though, it's part of the problem with cases is, to me, a medical examiner is supposed to be the last voice. They're supposed to be the voice of the person who's on their table. Because the body does basically what you're saying. The body does talk. It explains what happened to that person. And a lot of times, when she got there, they already were told she unalived herself. So they're going into the autopsy that this is a person who unalived themselves. Mm-hmm. They're not looking at it from a murder perspective. They're looking at it as somebody who killed themselves. So it's like, that kind of bothers me. But also with this story, even if he is not the person who, made her not be living anymore. He is the reason. He is what caused it. The abuse from when she was 13 to 23. The abuse from the other men till she was 23. That is what caused this young woman's death, whether it was his hands or her hands. Like I said, I personally believe it was his hands, but you got to leave that little sliver out there. Either way, he is responsible for what happened to Sandra Birchmore on February 1st, 2021. And there's other stuff to go along with that. She was making problems with him for work. She was making problems. She wanted him to sign the birth certificate. He didn't want to. She was talking about getting child support. Of course, that's going to cause problems. And a witness told the Massachusetts State Police that his brother told his wife all about Sandra. So his wife knew at that point. So she was making problems at work. She was making problems at home. And it was just going to be a huge issue anyway. And he did not want this child. So he was telling her to get rid of the child. There was a witness that said that they had gotten into physical altercations not too long before she died. Because I believe she said she was going to tell his wife. And he pushed her, and he said to her something along the lines, the witness wasn't quite sure exactly what he said, is either, I hope you kill yourself, or I hope you die. Mm-hmm. That is suspicious to say right before somebody dies, a week later or 2 weeks later.
Again, I think it goes back to what we've always said, that one thing on its own is plausible. When you go through everything, it starts to become. And also, if I'm being honest, this is why people keep saying to me, it's not this and Karen Reid aren't intertwined. Motherfuckers, it's literally intertwined, because it's the neighbouring county. It's like, it's the same people. And I think they're hand in hand. Like, if Karen Reid doesn't happen, honestly, if Karen Reid doesn't happen, I don't learn about that case. I don't learn about Sandra Birchmore. I know nothing about Sandra Birchmore. And the reports I'm reading, I'm like, well, I wouldn't have thought about all these things unless I always think about, every time I think, well, would a police officer do this? Yes, because they've done it to Karen. Yes, they've done that to Karen. Yes, they lied in reports. Yes, they've lied to grand jury. Yes, they've so many things, lie after lie. So if they could do that to Karen,
and there's a through line. Karen's case involves covering for police officers. Sandra Birchmore's case involves covering for police officers. So they're very similar. It's the same district attorney. It's the same investigative unit. It's not the same officers. It's not the same troopers. But it's the same unit that is under Morrissey. Morrissey is their boss. I mean, they have. It's their Massachusetts State Police, so they have a boss through them. But it's under Morrissey. I did a FOIA request with the Massachusetts State Police, and they're like, we don't have a report for her. And I'm like going crazy, like, what are you talking about? No, because I had to do a FOIA request with the district attorney's office because it falls under Morrissey. Morrissey is the through line to both cases.
Yeah. And the other thing.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The Attorney General now has Sandra's case. The Boston Globe just reported almost 2 weeks ago, that the Attorney General now has Sandra's case. So that shows that there was an issue. Why would the Attorney General take over the case if it wasn't a problem with this case and what the Massachusetts State Police under Morrissey have done? Mm-hmm. Morrissey in Karen's case told 2 witnesses to destroy their phones. What did he do in this case?
Well, my question, which I was going to ask, was this: do you think, and I could be off here with timeline stuff, do you think that they did this to Sandra, got away with it in their minds? They got away with this, and it led to then Karen, essentially, the same situation came up again. They're like, well, we've done it once.
Well,
We
yeah,
can
that's
do it a
what I
second time.
believe, that if they didn't pull off this gambit with Sandra, would they have had the balls to pull this thing with Karen? Because if you look at it, we already covered up one case and nobody's questioning it. Yeah, we can do this. We can do it again. Nobody will question it. They didn't realize that they didn't realize what they were getting with Karen. They thought they could just, put it on Karen and wash their hands of it and she would go away, whether it be to prison or she would be found not guilty. They didn't realize that Karen was going to fight. And I almost feel like that Karen is also fighting for Sandra, because she's proving that there is an issue in the Massachusetts State Police that are under Morrissey. And there is an issue with Morrissey's office. And that is why it is amazing that the Attorney General now has this case. And I possibly think that it is because of the FBI. I've heard rumors. It's only rumors. It's one of the things that's swirling around, that they were there for Sandra, or another case that happened before John. But it makes sense if, when that report dropped, they weren't like, wait a minute, what's going on? And they took up Sandra's case, because Sandra's case happened, when the report dropped, it was September 2022. And by the end of the year, we know they were starting to work on the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case. So the timing kind of seems right.
That's my question, because I wasn't sure about the timelines, but it seems to align then. Mm-hmm. Look, I pride myself, right, to try and always be devil's advocate in these things. I don't know everything about this case, all right? I don't, and I probably launched this case way too early than I normally would for anything else, because I still got questioned. But I'm not even kidding you. Everything that I read leads me that something suspicious happened here. Every time I think, hang on, it was like that report, that's self-alleviation. Fine, that's no problem. Yeah, but that police officer, Lang, and all, it's like all this happened with Karen Reed. It's like, oh fuck, you can't really trust them. Shit, where's the photos? Don't want to be seen. Where's the autopsy? Well, that's private because obviously of laws or whatever. Where's, I don't know, where's the phone details? Where's all the what do they use to like self-alleviate itself? No one knows. It's like there's questions. There shouldn't be questions. That video is the bang, the nail for me at the end of it. Then that's like when you do the jigsaw. It's like, fuck, right? I've got one. You got a one piece missing. You're just like, that motherfucker. That bloody piece. Where the fuck's that piece gone? It's under the sofa somewhere. You got it. It's like, motherfucker. The video, bang. I think that to me was the nail that put this all together for me.
And there's other parts of the case we should mention, like
there's loads.
The abuse portion. Divine was a groomer, and he took his 2 groomer proteges with him. There was weird stuff happening with William Farwell, and allegedly, I assume that he was trafficking Sandra, because he was introducing her to other men, and he looked himself up in the system 24 times, and he was looking Sandra up. There is no reason to look yourself up in the system unless you think somebody is starting an investigation on you. And 24 times. That's a lot. And the Boston Globe's article said that he would have Sandra send him photos of her having sex with other men, photos and videos. Now, why did he want photos and videos? Was it just because he was a perv? Or was it more than that? Was it stuff to blackmail people with? Or was it just to have to sell? Why did he want these videos? And that report in the Boston Globe said that there was picture of a male's genitalia sent to William Farwell, and it said it was an unknown police officer. That makes no sense. They didn't say that it was, I don't know if they don't know because they don't know. They can't see the person's face. Well, obviously, if it's just that. Or if it was another police officer other than his brother in Divine. Who is this unknown officer? Is there more, which I believe there was, because he was introducing her to other men? Who else is involved in this case that we don't know about? We do know that he introduced her to a military recruiter, but we don't have any information on him. And I've been trying to figure out who he is. There's supposedly text messages between the two, but he claimed that there was nothing else. Well, we don't know that. So what was Matthew Farwell up? What was William Farwell up to in this situation? Because that's really weird. And I think he was trafficking her. If you look at the information, but especially with the new report, to me, that leads me even more further down the road that he was trafficking Sandra. And you got to realize when children are groomed, especially young girls, and then they're abused, they usually go one way. They either become like asexual and they're like, I'm never going to be with anybody else again type deal person, or they come hyper sexually active. And Sandra went that route. And she also had told friends before that, police officers have a very, very, stressful job. And if I can help them to alleviate themselves, that's fine. So that was kind of her reason why she was hooking up with them. But does that include other officers? That question has not been answered. Like I said before, she's an iceberg, and she's only the tip of the iceberg. What is below the surface that was not investigated? Because the report for the Stoughton only looks like they looked at the three of them and Josh Heel. It doesn't look like they pulled in every officer. Every Stoughton police officer that worked with them, past and present, should have been pulled in and interviewed. Every person who went through the Explorers program should have been interviewed. They haven't been. And if they have, they're not showing the reports. Why? Why?
I think that you've got a lot of stuff here. And I don't want to go over time here a little bit because people don't tend to listen to it. So, live on air, would you be willing to come back in a couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely come back
on.
and talk about it.
And we have another special guest that will be joining us. And I hope you don't mind that they join us. But I want them to join us. You might know the guy. His name's Sean.
Oh.
El Jefe! Sean El Jefe is joining us. So I want to have Sean on with you. So we can discuss some of these things that you've just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's a good opportunity then for you to go on his channel.
We've
so
kind
that's
of
like a brief.
About it, but we haven't totally hooked up about me going on the show.
No, this is like the as they say, the intro to go. Hey, So
yeah.
we mentioned you and stuff like that, and he was just like, well, this is perfect. So he's agreed to come on. It's probably in 2 weeks or something. We'll hook you up, bring him on, and hope. Oh, you might get on his channel before then. I don't know, but he's aware. I've asked him to come on with you, because I wasn't aware if you would be on beforehand or afterwards. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I wanted him to come on at the end today actually and be like, "Hey, I'll invite you onto his channel," but we couldn't make it work out.
That's
So,
fine.
but yeah, I want to make sure that you get the platform on
Thank you. I
because
appreciate
I
that.
got a platform. Yeah, I've got a small platform, right? But hopefully people will watch this. But she's got an incredibly big platform, so um, it works both ways. You know, I want to reach out to internationally, get people to know what this is, and then hopefully, he can bring you even bigger audience, and other people can get you on and stuff like that. Because you've got a lot of great insight, you got a
Thank you.
lot of knowledge, you deserve the platform, you deserve everything for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And if I can help in any way, I will always help out. Whether same with Karen, same with everything. So, and that's why I wanted to a little bit cut you off there because you go into a lot of things that I think Sean would be interested in as well to discuss, because he's got bringing a lot of the law enforcement
A law
element of stuff as
enforcement
well.
perspective to it.
That's what I wanted to cover with him next time. That's why I didn't quite delve into that route,
Yeah.
but you're passionate about it, and he's up for it, and he's someone that I would love to have on next week. I'm doing the case stuff, but as I say, the week after that, hopefully we get you back on with
Yeah,
Sean.
definitely.
And yeah, let's explode this. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
I make it huge. So
I appreciate you having me on to talk about her case because she deserves justice, whether it's in her just the abuse portion or her death investigation. I just feel like her death investigation needs to be investigated more broadly and really looked at as, was it possibly murder? Because they didn't look at it as murder at all. They looked
yeah,
at it as she did it to herself, and let's put the case under, close the case. And that's sad.
that's sad. And there's for those as well that are new to this case. There's so many facets to this case. We've not even touched half of it. So
Somebody just asked, I just saw on there, somebody asked if I've been getting any threats. I actually just had, I haven't, but my first threat actually happened the other day on Twitter. The person, I posted a saying that even more so now that what came out in the Karen Reed hearing, that Morrissey is dirty, and I'm glad her case was taken out of her hands. And the person first replied, "Oh, you think those were bombs? It's just AJ lying more." And they said something, and I ignored it. I didn't reply to it. I wanted to, but when I speak for Sandra, I'm not going to pop off. So I had to check my ego a little, and I didn't reply. Then the person came back, and I replied to somebody else's comment, and they said, "I hope what happened to Sandra happens to you. Your end will be just like Sandra's."
yeah,
And I was
it's
like,
horrible.
"So you want me to
Yeah,
be unalived and sexually assaulted? Thanks."
yeah. Unfortunately, it happens. I get it. Not very often, but I get it.
Yeah.
A lot as well. It's horrible. People don't believe you. I've said to people I've had death threats, and people are like, "Oh, whatever, you look for attention." No, genuinely, you get death threats. Not just
I
for yourself, but
luckily
your
screenshot
families.
it. I luckily screenshot it because the person went back and deleted it.
So, and also, piece of advice for you: Twitter are very good. Twitter are very good. In a lot of cases, especially if it's not the real person. I complained, and I'd say probably 80% of the time they get rid of the people.
So it might
So
have been
they are
Twitter.
actually
I
quite
did report it.
yeah. So when they know about it, they they will, either delete it or get rid of the person. So, yeah, so don't take any shit off it. It's not nice. I get you. I'm quiet. I'm getting more quiet on Twitter now because of it as well, because
Yeah.
it's not worth it. There's so many dangerous people out there. I got doxxed recently. It's not, it's horrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not for me. I'm whatever for me, but when your family is involved and children are involved and stuff, it's
Exactly.
horrible. So, but yeah, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
all that you do. Obviously, all your details are in the bottom. We will get you. I'll say we'll do the case next week a little bit. Amy's here. Yes, she is. Came in at the end. Hey, Amy. Amy's also a big I've learned so much from Amy doing this case in the chat and stuff. So I missed you today as well. So yeah, in 2 weeks' time, what is that in 2 weeks' time? I don't remember what it is now. 29th. Let's put it in the diary. 29th of March. Let's get you an El Jefe. And Josie's proud of me because she taught me how to say El Jefe. So, because I was going El Jefe. El Jefe. I was like, what the fuck? So, thank you, Wicked Sight. Thank you, Wicked Sight. See you
Thank
later.
you, everyone. And remember,
Does Mizzy have her own channel?
Come to the Justice page. If you have a question that we haven't answered today, I can answer it then. If you can message me or even ask the question on the page, and I'll gladly answer everything. Yes, I do have my own channel. It's called A Mixed Girl in a Mixed Up World. Like I said, I don't do lives right now, but I will eventually start doing lives. But I have a lot of interviews with a lot of other families of people who have been murdered. So
we are doing it the proper way. Thank you, Chrissy. LJ's late coming in. Guys, just watch afterwards. A lot of people will watch it afterwards. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you.
Every time I say Ruby, I'm like Ruby, 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 Ruby. Na, na, na. I got the song in my head.
Page if you want to go check it out.
There we are. That's it. And we got the Facebook one at the end as well. One after O'Keefe. Yes. I'm glad I took all the live. See you, Scott. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for all the info, Carleen. Thank you for dialing. Subbed. There we are. So we got another sub for you. Wendy, thank you. Wendy gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Wendy. That goes to LJ, Anonymous, Lynn, Obese, and Peter A. Thank you. And yeah, this one as well. Justice for Sandra and baby Birchmore. Let's not forget the baby as well. I think that sometimes gets a little bit lost. So amazing. Great show. Right, I could go read through these all day, but thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. And
thank you, everyone, for joining us.
I'll see you all next week, 10 o'clock Eastern, for the case, couple of episodes, and then Mizzy and Sean the week after. So with that, everybody, take care of yourselves. Let me just get the outro going. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.